To review a program record, you can start off on the main dashboard by clicking on the program panel, which will reveal an overview network diagram. This gives you a quick view of the program structure, showing the modules in each year. Optional modules are shown in green, and modules that have prerequisites are shown with a dashed line linking to them. And if you hover over the module, a tooltip will tell you what the prerequisite is for that module. So this gives you a good quick overview of your program structure. To look at the full program record, you can either click View here, or you can go to the program list page and select your program from the list of programs there. So if we follow through by clicking this View button, this takes us to the program details page. So this essentially captures all of the information related to your program inside Curricular. So you can start off with some standard program details, some free text areas that in this case contain a program description, some details relating to program progression, and then we get down into the program modules themselves. So you can view your program modules all in a single table, which indicates the year for each module, the term, and whether or not that module is core or optional. This table is filterable and searchable as well. You can then view your modules split up by term. So this gives you the same information, except this time you will be able to see any groups that these modules have been assigned to and how many modules a student will be selecting from each group. So in this case, you can see in the third year, in term 2, both structural dynamics and water resources and pollution control belong to an option group designated A, and a student must pick one module from these two optional modules. Clicking on any of these rows will bring you to the module record page. Next, you have the module group association. This is used to create subject streams within a degree program. And you can see more detail on that in a separate video on how to add or build a new program within Curricular. Next, you have your learning activities. This section shows a graphic which gives you the distribution of different types of learning activities within each year. And then the pie chart over on the right represents the data for the entire 4 years of a program. You also have the itemized learning activities in a table below. So this will represent every single learning activity that's recorded for this whole program. And again, this table is filterable and searchable. So you can also select a single type of activity and just view the data for that over 4 years as well. So this data is represented in absolute terms in hours. We can equally view the distribution as a percentage. And this shows us the percentage distribution of the different types of learning activity for a program. We can then view a similar data visualization for program assessment. So this gives us the distribution or the breakdown of different types of assessment across the program, again per year with the bar chart, and hovering over each of these elements will give you a tooltip giving you more specific data. And again, you can look at the data in absolute terms or in percentage terms. And this section is also accompanied by a table which lists every single item of assessment across the entire program. Next, we have the program syllabus represented in the table again. So once again, this is a very helpful table which will give me every single piece of the syllabus across the entire program. What's most helpful about this really is the fact that we can either filter. So we can filter by module code, year, term, essentially whatever we have on the table here we can filter by, or we can search. So we can search the syllabus items, and this can be helpful for keyword searches across your syllabus. The next feature is a visualization of program attributes. So this is quite helpful because it allows you to visualize the distribution of attributes, in this case the AHEP ILOs for MEng programs across the entire program. And again, hovering over each square will give you information relevant for that square. So what this is telling me is, for example, for this square, the module soil mechanics contributes to the AHEP ILO D3M. The module is in second year, and there are 3 ILOs within that module that map to that AHEP ILO D3M. So this is really quite helpful from an accreditation point of view because it gives you a quick view of how well your program satisfies, in this case, AHEP ILOs, but you could equally map any set of attributes either externally mandated attributes or your own internal attributes against your program. Then we've got a cumulative chart along the bottom here, which is just giving me the coverage across all modules for each of the AHEP ILOs. So this is a heat map where the color intensity indicates the number of module ILOs that map to a specific AHEP ILO. But equally, we could look at a binary heat map where a solid color here simply indicates that the module does map against a particular AHEP ILO. Now you can also download this data as a CSV table, which is again quite helpful. Now you can view it as a heat map, or you can view this data as a table. So the table is quite helpful because it allows you to say for every single AHEP learning outcome, how many optional modules and how many core modules hit that learning outcome. Now I can look at this from an attribute-centric perspective, which is what I'm doing now. So I can see that the attribute SM1M is mapped against 12 of my core modules in this program and one optional module. Or I can look at this from a module-centric perspective. So again, for each module, I can see what AHEP ILOs it maps against. So it really does give me the ability to get a really good solid understanding of how my program meets any set of attributes, whether they're externally mandated attributes or internal attributes which I choose to map my modules within a program against. We've been viewing everything for the AHEP ILOs for MEng. If I wanted to view a different set of attributes that my modules within this program have been mapped against, I can simply select it here and it will repopulate the data for this set of attributes. So this is easily seen here. If we go back to the heat map, we can see now that I'm mapping against the JBM threads of design, sustainability, professionalism, and health and safety. So we can see how those attributes are mapped across my program. We then have program learning outcomes. So these are the high-level program-specific learning outcomes. We then have learning outcome attribution, which is essentially saying for each of my program learning outcomes, which modules within the program are responsible primarily for developing that learning outcome. So we've got a complete mapping between program learning outcomes and the modules that are used to develop those learning outcomes. So that gives me a good full all-round picture of the data related to an academic program. We're also able to export these details in PDF form.